price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. We have a very, very important conversation to discuss this evening. We're going to discuss something recently as far as this Virginia nurse who's recently been arrested for deliberately going in the ICU and fracturing the bones of newborn babies. But we're going to use this as a conversation opener to discuss a much larger and more severe problem. And we're also going to discuss the solution to said problem. We're not just here to discuss the problem and complain about how things are not going well for us. We're not here to do that anymore. We're past that time. But we're going to discuss this situation, and we're also going to discuss solutions for that. Now, I appreciate you guys' patience. I'm a little under the weather right now, which is why I'm a tad bit tardy. So I apologize for that. I had to get my tea and everything before I went on live. So I appreciate you guys, all right, and your patience. But we're going to get started because tonight is a very, very serious conversation. It's not going to be very flashy. It's not going to be very funny. It's not going to be super dramatic and all that. It's not going to be that. Sometimes it's cool to diss people and make jokes and all that stuff, and it's cool to ride that wave sometimes, but these are the conversations that we need to get really down to earth, and these are the conversations that filter out the people who are here for some type of political entertainment, who are here for entertainment, and who are really here for a real movement, who are really here to make change, who are really here because they understand that this is the stuff that makes the situation better for tomorrow. This is why I'm here. This is why you are here. For everybody watching live, for everybody watching in the playback, you are a part of something that is bigger than you right now. Right now, as you're watching this, we are all together a part of something that is bigger than us. Not because this is a trend, or because this is funny, or because this is cool to talk about, or because this even makes us feel good. Such situations like this does not make us feel good, actually. But it's a situation that we need to address because this is bigger than us. So I appreciate you all for being here with us. So we're going to get into the situation of this evil, sadistic nurse by opening up this article right here. Now, it says right here, this is pure evil Virginia nurse accused of fracturing bones of Black newborn in case involving 7 babies in NICU. 7 babies. All right. So that's okay. Hope not 1 or 2. Now, when they gave you the headlines, they didn't tell you it was 7 different Black newborn babies. You might have thought maybe 1 or 2 and she got caught. No, it took 7 babies in order for them to look at the situation like, hey, what's going on here? So it says, some people in this world are pure evil. Unfortunately, some of those people have access to human beings and are at their most vulnerable, namely infants. All right. A now former nurse at Herco Doctors Hospital Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, NICU, in Central Virginia has been charged with malicious wounding and child abuse following an investigation of newborn babies who suffered from, quote, unexplained fractures. Now, it's malicious wounding and child abuse. Okay, cool, but you don't see no hate crimes. Now, it would be one thing if she was doing this to any and every baby, but she's not doing this to any and every baby. She's doing this particularly and specifically to Black babies. She's not doing this to Black and brown babies. She's not doing this to people of color babies. She's doing this to Black babies. Now, it continues to say the nurse, 26 years old, Erin Elizabeth Ann Stratman from Chesterfield County stands accused of causing these injuries to at least one black child, but it's possible at least 7 more suffered the same injury. Now, let's just pause that for one quick second so we can soak this in. Let's pause this for one quick second so we can all soak this in. We have to understand, it takes, when we talk about hate crimes to us, do you understand the bar is set to an extremely high level that it is never set to when it comes to any other group of people? When it comes to any other group of people, you don't need to break bones of babies 7 times in order for somebody to look at it like, you know what, every time you go back to the NICU, there's always a black baby with their bone broken. And I mean, the coincidence seems kind of interesting because the baby is totally fine before they go in the NICU. When you go in there, all of a sudden there's a fracture or something like that. This seems like that's a little bit too odd to be a coincidence. Maybe once and then that's unexplained, twice, and I'm like, okay, we should look at it. Are there no cameras in ICU? Do people not see that going on? And she's the only, she clearly feels very comfortable, because isn't it supposed to be where it's like a big open window and anybody could just walk through and look at the babies? So you would have to go inside, and I don't know if you thinking you being slick by trying to change the baby's diaper or however she tried to do it, but people can see you. So you are so comfortable that you're not even afraid that somebody could just casually be walking through and see you. But this has happened over the course of 7 separate times. And it probably took one time where the family is all like, no, we're going to look further into this situation. And then they look into the situation and they see a pattern. If the family, more than likely, did not pursue an investigation about their baby's broken bone, she probably would have gone on and gone on and gone on and continued forever. That's the first big point. When these things happen, it never happens in a vacuum. It never happens where nobody knows about it. No, everybody is against it. She was just so slick. She was so clever. That never happens. That's never the case. There's no cameras where newborns are at. There's no cameras. There's nobody who knew about it. There's nobody who even thought to look into, why are these babies, these newborn babies, having broken limbs? Like, that seems a little odd. Let me go into investigating that, because there was no complications during the child birth. So let's go. There's nothing. That's not because anybody is dumb. It's not because of that. Because in the system of white supremacy, what they do is the person who is committing such act, they allow them to do that, and everybody else plays dumb. Everybody else acts like they don't see anything. Everybody else acts like they don't hear anything. Everybody else acts like that. And they allow it to go on indefinitely up until the person gets caught. Now, when a person gets caught, they got to throw you under the bus to save the rest of the group. That's how the system works. If you don't get caught, you cool with it, and we game. If you get caught, everybody got to act like they don't know what was going on, and everybody's so upset about it. Everybody's so bothered about it. Everybody's just so horrified. That's the game. This is the game, and this goes on in hospitals all the time. All the time. Another point is very important. Looking back here, they say that this woman is 26 years old. She's younger than me. This is a very young woman. You can call her a woman. But when they tell you things like, well, the newer generation, they're not really racist like that. They don't really have a racist bone in their body. It's really the older generation that's really stuck in their ways, and they just can't get with the times, and they're really just people of their, of their time and of their era. when we talk about hate crimes, most of the hate crimes that we face, they're done by younger people. They're not done by older people. They're not done by people in their 70s and 80s. These are most of these hate crimes that you've seen as of late. These people are under the age of 30, under the age of 40. A solid majority, I would dare to say, like about 80%, maybe 80% are under the age of 40 years old. All right. It's very important for us to understand all this. It's very, very important. Now let's continue. So just keep in mind the age. So when people say things like, oh, it's dying down, things are getting better. When people say it's not as bad as it used to be, how is it not as bad as it used to be if these are the same people who would do the same thing 100 years ago? Now, going down, they got the tweet I made. I made a tweet, and they put that tweet in the article. Because that tweet, when I made that tweet, the tweet really blew up. It did, like, it blew up. It made the situation blow up. And that's one of the reasons why I did it. Because I understood for a fact that these are the type of stories that get swept under the rug. These are the type of stories that nobody, like, they'll say something one time, it's a blink and you'll miss it. And if it doesn't blow up, nobody's going to bring it up again. And then next thing you know, she gets a slap on the wrist. I was like, no, not if I have anything to say about it. So I made a tweet. I said, Erin Elizabeth Ann Strotman, a 26-year-old nurse from Virginia, has been arrested on charges of malicious wounding and felony child abuse. The medical industry is full of suspected white supremacists. This is why we need a black hate crime law. So they put this in the article. This is good. And this is going to, remember this, because this is going to be important for what we discuss about how we solve the problem later. All right. So it continues to say, according to ABC 8 News, 3 babies at the hospital were discovered with, quote, unexplained fractures in late November and December of 2024. And their cases resembled that of 4 infants at the hospital who suffered similar injuries in 2023. So far, Strotman, who was arrested and held without bond Friday, has only been charged in connection to one of the children. Okay, so this was happening in 2023, 2024. Nobody, look how long it takes for somebody to look into this situation. These people are not slick. These people are not clever. These people get away with that because the group backs them up. So anytime somebody says, well, I mean, you do got to understand, most of them are not that bad, but it's just a few bad apples. Well, where's the good apples to stop the bad apples? That's my question. Going down, according to ABC, now this is their quote from ABC, an investigation at Henrico County Child Protective Services, the Henrico County Commonwealth Attorney Office, Virginia State Police, the Virginia Department of Health, and the Office of the Attorney General has been underway in relation to these incidents. When asked following the arraignment whether all 7 babies in the investigation are currently alive, Henrico County Commonwealth's attorney Sharon Taylor said officials were continuing to investigate and cannot yet confirm their health status. So, unfortunately, some of these babies, they might not even be here with us today. Quote, the maximum statutory penalty for felony child neglect is 10 years of incarceration, and the maximum statutory penalty for felony malicious wounding is 20 years in incarceration. Okay, Taylor said. So she's facing, now here's the thing, is it really child neglect? Is it child neglect because you're deliberately doing it? It's not just you're deliberately, so I wouldn't even call it neglect because that's not what it was. Okay, but notice that she's not saying anything about a hate crime. That word has not popped up yet. Okay, Taylor, it continues to say, we'll read into this a little bit more, but there's still a lot more we're going to talk about, because this is going to prime the pump for the overall conversation that we're going to be having this evening. It says, Taylor also suggested Stroutman's arrest was only the beginning. She assured the public that the investigation is still ongoing and that the injuries suffered by the other child will be addressed, and that others might be joining Stroutman as defendants in this case, as they should. And the family, oh my goodness, man. Sorry, y'all. God. Okay. As they should. Absolutely as they should. This is exactly what needs to happen. Now, we're talking about this because right now, the movement, because we have to understand, sometimes movements have different, I don't necessarily want to say phases because we're all in one big movement, but sometimes there's different missions to the overall movement. We have to understand, in our overall movement, we need a lot of different things. We have a lot of different problems that need to be addressed. All right. Right now, us, as far as the hate crime situation that's been going on, that is what needs to be addressed right now. So that's where the energy needs to be. We need to put a lot of energy behind that in order for us to really understand the scope of why hate crimes is an epidemic, why Black hate crimes is an extreme epidemic. We're going to have to go back a couple of years. All right. Let's go back a couple of years. Even if we go back into the medical situation, I want you to understand, when it comes to medical racism, this is not something new. I want you to look at this real quick. We're going to look into this very briefly. All right. This is former Seattle children's doctor wins $22 million in discrimination lawsuit. So this was updated last year. It wasn't even that long ago. So we're just going to get into this a little bit. All right. I need every single last one of you guys. It's very, very, very important that you guys hit that like button. Okay. This is where the momentum needs to be. This is not a very trendy topic. This is not a very sexy topic. This is not something that's going to make you laugh or feel good or you can get a giggle out of. This is a very serious topic. So we need every single bit of this to blow up and to reach as many eyes as possible. So everybody got to hit that like button and be heavy in the chat room right now. Now, it goes on to say, a jury on Monday found Seattle Children's Hospital created a hostile work environment based on a race against Dr. Benjamin Donaldson, the former medical director of the hospital's Odessa Brown Children's Clinic. The jury awarded $21 million in damages in the racial discrimination case, including a weeks-long trial that centered on the effects of systemic racism in the workplace and in the healthcare, and the hospital's responsibility to address it. Quote, "I'm in shock," Donaldson said in an interview shortly after the verdict was read. "I'm full of deep gratitude to the jury. There have been so many amazing people from the community from this journey willing to show up. Okay, and then this is what Dr. Danielson said. Now, here's something I definitely want to get down to, because this is something that we're going to have to address going down a little bit further. It says Danielson, who is Black, led the clinic for over 2 decades, positioning himself as well-known advocate for increasing healthcare access for marginalized communities. Founded more than 50 years ago and named after a prominent community organizer who called attention to the desperate treatment and health outcomes of Black people. The Odessa Brown Children's Clinic primarily serves families of color and low-income families. Now, these are words that we got to really look into. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to just get this off for a little bit. Because I just got something I want to say briefly. A lot of people, we understand that anytime somebody goes out of their way to be all like Black, and people of color, Black and brown, Black and marginalized, we understand that, okay, that's a finesse. One thing, though, we do have to understand, sometimes the article will go out of their way to people of color it. They go out of their way to diversify what somebody says. If they're not directly quoting it, they'll just add a people of color phrase just so they can all lives matter a stance. So if I say, I want to create a clinic so I can serve the Black community, the article will say, okay, so Dr. Danielson says he wants to serve people of color. So that's what the article will do sometimes. All right. So it's so we do have to be careful of that, because sometimes the article, they'll word things, they'll diversify it on their own if they're not quoting the person. So just why I say that is pay very close attention to what people quote when they quote somebody, and then what the article will say. All right. Because sometimes we'll kind of distance ourselves when the person is more on code than we think they are, but the article puts a little bit of misinformation out there, so we not thinking that they're on code like that. So we just got to pay very close attention. All right. Now, if they quote them and they say people of color, hey, we already know. So just pay very close attention to that. All right. So getting into it a little bit more. It says Danielson sued the hospital system last year after resigning in November 2020, accusing Seattle Children's of allowing institutional racism to foster for years and retaliation against him when he called attention to it. His resignation set off a wave of public outcry and spurred the hospital system to launch an independent investigation. So, I'm saying this to say, sometimes it only takes one person, because a lot of times these hospitals have so much on them. It only takes one person to set that spark off and to get that ball rolling, and then bam, you straight, you good. Because once you get the ball rolling, then the investigation starts to uncover a lot of stuff. It's a lot of skeletons already in the closet. All you got to do is you don't even got to crack the door open. You just got to turn the doorknob, and then bam, all these skeletons come flying out of the closet. All right. That's all you really got to do a lot of times. So, this is why we gotta understand that just because you might feel like, if I say something, I'm going against the grain, I'm gonna be by myself, I'm not gonna have a lot of support. Sometimes, y'all, I'm telling you, you don't really need that. All right. You don't need a ton of that. All you need to do is crack that door open, and bam, all of these skeletons come flying out of the closet. All right. Sometimes you're not going to have the support initially that you need, but further along, you're going to have a ton of support once you get not on your first step or your second step, maybe not even on your third step, but once you get to that fourth step, fifth step, sixth step, bam, next thing you know, you got a ton of support. So just do it. Even if you by yourself, just start that investigation. Just pursue that, just call something out, and then next thing you know, you opened up a closet with skeletons coming out. Now you got a whole bunch of other people investigating the situation, and the ball starts to start rolling. All right, and it's the snowball that gets bigger as it goes down the hill, and you're able to uncover a whole bunch of other problems. All right, so this is what that doctor did, so that was good. All right, so going into that, this is one of the reasons why we need hate crime bill. We need a hate crime bill. Now, this started, first off, we're going to have to be very honest. When things in this country go unpunished, it creates a precedent, not even just legally, but it creates a precedent, more importantly, socially. It creates a social precedent in this country that black people are fair game, that it's open season on black people. All right. I want to go back years before. I want to go back actually to the situation with Emmett Till and Carolyn Bryant. We understand what really happened in this situation, but we have to understand that when situations like this go unpunished, go unchecked, when Carolyn Bryant, her husband, and her brother-in-law get to go on trial and get to be let go, get to walk, and then get to brag about it, even though they're all evidence pointed to them doing it, but it was an all-white jury, and they get to brag about it. They get to write books about it. They get to have interviews about it. It essentially made them famous. When you have black hate crimes that go not only unpunished, and this is a big part, this is the even bigger part. When you have black hate crimes that not only make you go unpunished, but that make you become famous, that make you gain some wealth and notoriety, that boost you up, boost your status in society, that sets a very dangerous precedent. And because that was never punished, not even up until recent time, that was never punished, that set a precedent. Was Carolyn Bryant the first person to ever make a false accusation against a black male? No, she was not. But what she did set something that was so unprecedented. What she did, it was not just a false accusation against a black male. This was a child, first of all. Okay, he was maliciously tortured. So much so he was unrecognizable with an open coffin. Unrecognizable. So much I wouldn't even show you the image right now. And she became famous. Her husband, and her brother-in-law became famous after that. They was able to go on interviews and everything. They were icons in the eyes of the dominant society. And this sets a precedent that continues to this very day. All right. Very dangerous precedent that continues to this absolute very day. I'm going to give you another situation, y'all. The situation recently, or not recently, but the situation years ago with our brother Trayvon Martin, who was also a child, who was lynched. And then what happened to the person who lynched him? George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman became famous. George Zimmerman was out there signing Skittles, signing Confederate flags. He had a couple of big interviews. Now, mind you, George Zimmerman was literally protected. I want you guys to keep this in mind. Keep this in perspective. Trayvon Martin was walking home, hadn't committed a crime at all. George Zimmerman stalked him, called the police. The police said, "Hey, leave him alone." He disobeyed the police. He stalked him, hunted him down, essentially, and lynched the boy. He was able to get out and became famous. Here's the worst part even about that, and the part that people don't even bring this up in context. After George Zimmerman became famous for what he did, George Zimmerman had protection. George Zimmerman was protected by law enforcement. So nobody in the community could touch him. People don't bring that up. When people talk about, oh, y'all be doing all this gang stuff, but ain't nobody pull up on George Zimmerman. Man, ain't nobody know where George Zimmerman is. As we were sitting up here waiting on what we thought was the first black president to do anything, to address anything. We thought that, okay, this is the first black president. He got overwhelming support from the black community with his campaign. So we assumed that he was going to do anything, and he didn't have really anything at all to say, except that Trayvon could have been his son. If he had a son, his son would look like Trayvon. That's, to sum it, most of everything he had to say about the situation. So, as we were waiting on that, George Zimmerman was getting protection. So George Zimmerman got protected class. He got protective status. So not only did George Zimmerman become a celebrity, but George Zimmerman was also walking around with security and protection, some of which by the state. So even though he was the one who committed this lynching, he was the one who committed this hate crime, he was on the phone spewing racial slurs on the phone with the police, calling Trayvon Martin racial slurs, and he's the one who got the protective status after he got let go. People don't really bring that up in its full context. Remember the situation with Carolyn Bryant. Remember, there was a big warrant for her arrest. And the reason why people didn't pull up on Carolyn Bryant is because most of the time we think about this situation, and a lot of black people didn't even know that Carolyn Bryant was still alive. And we didn't know what Carolyn Bryant looked like. All we had was like really this one picture and maybe another picture of black and white when she was in her 20s. No, a lot of black people didn't know where she was alive, where she was, who she is. Plus, she changed her name. We didn't know that. But when it was discovered that she was alive, this was last year, when it was discovered that she was alive, when it was discovered that where we knew around where she was, and it was a whole bunch of people in the community going to look for her so they could serve some type of justice, she was being protected. She was being moved to different locations in the dark of night, so nobody was able to find her. She was in one location on Monday and then a completely different location in a different state on Tuesday. They was moving her around so she could not face any type of consequences, any type of jail time, or any other justice. Just gonna say, any other justice, before she passed away from natural causes. So all of these people, I want you to understand that not only do these people get away with hate crimes, they also become famous. They also get notoriety. They also get big put up on interviews and all of that. Not on that, even in more recent cases, you have the situation with Daniel Penny, who publicly and on camera lynched Jordan Neely, a defenseless, homeless man who was starving, and his Marine just jumped on him and strangled him. All right? Nobody, not only did he get to walk, what happened to him? The same thing that happened to Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. The same thing that happened with Emmett Till and Karen Bryant. He became famous. He got millions of dollars in donations. He was on Fox News. He's doing an interview. He is called a hero. He is literally called a hero in the eyes of the dominant society. The same way George Zimmerman is called a hero in the eyes of the dominant society. We have to understand this stuff. So this is the system that we're up against. And one hate crime that goes unpunished, the hate crime of Trayvon Martin, because it is a hate crime, because you can't say race was not a factor if he's calling a child a racial slur before attacking him. You can't say that race was not a factor. One hate crime that goes unpunished leads to another hate crime that goes unpunished, leads to another hate crime that goes unpunished. And when I say this stuff, these hate crimes that go unpunished, they only set the environment and make it more comfortable for other hate crimes to go on. Now, let me show you something else. These hate crimes, I want to show you because I want us to be very clear that this stuff is not going away and it's not even decreasing. Look at this. Hold on. Let me pull this up real fast. Look at this. Now, I want you to keep this in mind. Keep the source. I want you to remember the source. ABC. Remember, this comes from ABC. Do not forget that this comes from ABC. All right? Reported hate crimes in Los Angeles County rose their highest level in 43 years in 2023, jumping 45% from the previous year, according to a survey released Wednesday by the County Commission on Human Relations. The report found 1,350 reported hate crimes in the county last year, up from 930 the prior year. The number is the highest it's been since the annual analysis began in 1980. All right. Hate crime documents last year grew to a peak, setting multiple records for highest counts. Now, pay very close attention to this because they all lives matter it, but they don't like to bring up the actual statistics and data for it. All right. It says setting the highest counts for targeted groups. Blacks, that's the first thing they say. Asians, Jewish people, Latino / Latinas, LGBT individuals, and transgender people. Isn't transgender in the okay? Anyway, it says and includes the highest recorded counts for anti-immigrant slurs, Middle Eastern conflicts related crimes, and crimes with evidence of white supremacist ideology. All right. Now it says, quote, hate crimes don't just target individuals, they harm entire communities. The county board of supervisors chair Catherine Barger said during the news conference Wednesday, they are an attack on the very fabric of who we are, and they share the values that unite us, and the shared values that unite us. But analyzing the patterns and trends in the hate crimes, we can better understand whether our efforts need to be focused and how we can prevent such acts in the future. All right. Now look at this. Now, this is a big jump, right? For people who are always making the case that things are getting better. Don't you guys understand? Things are getting a lot better. Racism is bad, but racism isn't as bad as it used to be. Oh, it's not as bad as it used to be. That's what they say. That's what they say. Now, look at the numbers here. A 125 increase in anti-transgender crimes, the largest crime ever documented. Nearly all the crimes were violent. Okay, now let's put a lot of that into context, because we got this thing on social media where a lot of people from that specific segment of the community say they get to go around and mess around and they get to trick people, and then they allow the people to find out that they're really trans after the fact. And then when something happens, they want to say that that's a hate crime. So a lot of I want you guys to keep that in mind. A lot of when they say, "Oh, it's a lot of transgender hate crimes," just keep in mind that a lot of those crimes are based off of things that community does, and then the result after the fact, where they not being transparent about them being trans or whatever the case is, and then they mess around and then they say something, and then when they get touched, they be all like, "Oh, that's a hate crime." So take that into context. Take a lot of that into context. All right. Now, it continues to say the 90% spike in religious crimes with anti-Semitic, let's say, hate crimes, rising 91% from 127 to 242. It is the largest number of anti-Semitic crimes ever recorded by the commission. Now it says blacks were again grossly overrepresented in reported hate crimes, consisting 49% of victims. 49% of victims. So what that means is that all of the victims combined, pretty much half of them are black. Pretty much half of them are black. It says the 320 anti-black crimes were the highest number ever reported. So when they like to all lives matter, the hate crimes, they like to put it in the context that the hate crimes are affecting all quote unquote marginalized communities and all communities of color and all people of color and black and brown. But then when you look at the data, black people take over half of all of the hate crimes. That's deep. That is deep, y'all. And when this stuff goes unpunished, this stuff sets a precedent that black people are open season. When a police officer gets to get away with a hate crime against a black person, that sets a precedent. We have to understand, when these police, when they finally get caught doing something like the situation recently that we discussed with Robert Brooks, when these police finally get caught with doing something, I want you to understand that this is not at all ever their first time doing that. It's never their first time. They always have a history of doing certain things. Let's go back in the past again. Do you guys remember the Goon Squad? We discussed this last year. I'm gonna briefly break this down just a little bit. Remember this. The Goon Squad. Let's take a look at this. And sometimes it's very important for us to have these reminders. All right. And they were not charged with a hate crime either. I'm just going to get into a little bit of this. And this is very important. I'm telling you all, it's very, very important information we're discussing tonight, because we're also going to be discussing what we need to do about it. All right. So I need every single last one of you guys. If you guys support an anti-black hate crime bill, hit that like button. I need you guys to hit that like button. Okay. It says the Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into policing in Rankin County, Mississippi, where six white former law enforcement officers, some of whom called themselves the quote Goon Squad, were convicted of torturing two black men last year during a no-knock warrant raid. All right. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a statement Thursday that the investigation will examine whether the Rankin County Sheriff's Department has a pattern or practice of, quote, systemically violating people's constitutional rights through excessive use of force, unlawful stops, searches, and arrests, and discriminatory policing. No talk about a hate crime. No talk about a hate crime at all. And I want you to understand, these things set a precedent. Now, we needed a hate crime, and we still do need a hate crime. Because one thing happens to another, one thing goes unpunished. It's like, oh, okay, well, open season for us then. It's open season. When things go unpunished, it sets a precedent that, oh, black people are open season. Because I want you guys to understand with the situation, if we remember correctly, with the situation with George Zimmerman and the trial of Zimmerman and him getting off, it was a little break because all of the white supremacists, they sat back and they looked like, hey, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then when they saw nothing happen, they was like, nothing happened? Oh, he got let go? Oh, okay. Every time it happens, it's a little pause. And then they kind of see, and then they all like, oh, okay. So nothing gonna happen? So he get to walk? Oh, all right then. Then next thing you know, what happened? Then you had Dylan Roof. I'm gonna submit to you this. Dylan Roof is a direct his environment and what led him to do that. I'm not saying he was inspired by Zimmerman, but the environment that was set for Dylan Roof started long before, but it was a big factor. Trayvon Martin's lynching and George Zimmerman getting to walk with that hate crime set the tone for Dylan Roof to do what he did. So Obama's Department of Justice that allowed Trayvon Martin's lynching to go unpunished set the environment for Dylan Roof and all of the other hate crimes that transpired after him. Every single last one of them. All right. Now, as much as we needed a hate crime, and we still do, we have other cases, even recent cases. Look at this. Let me play, as you guys are making sure you guys like the video, let me play this so we can make sure we're protected, because I got a couple of clips I got to play. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Look at this.
Cartersville high school cheerleaders are speaking out about a hate crime targeting them. Someone wrote the N-word and other obscenities in their cheer room and also ruined their uniforms. Police have made an arrest. Channel 2's Taisha Fernandez went to Cartersville to ask the cheer squad what they think is behind this crime.
The cheerleaders said this whole incident made them mad instead of being sad. And they said what made them feel so upset about it was that it wasn't just the racial slur. It was the personal attack on their uniforms that were not cheap.
What's the reason behind it, you know?
These two students are cheerleaders at Cartersville High School, and they were upset about what happened in their cheerleading room Tuesday. Someone spray painted the N-word on their refrigerator and ruined their uniforms by pouring mustard and coffee creamer on them.
We already have like a negative image on us just because we are a mostly black team. So it's just kind of like, you know, it made everybody mad. Even we have 15 black girls and one white girl that made her mad too.
Police ended up arresting a minor for it, but the cheer coach didn't like the way the situation was handled. Cheerleaders had to look at this again when they got to school the next morning. A spokesperson for Cartersville City Schools says miscommunication was the problem because administrators began their investigation immediately. They said, quote, the joint investigation with Cartersville police concluded within 24 hours on early afternoon Wednesday with the arrest of a juvenile. Cartersville City Schools does not tolerate any actions that make our students and staff feel unsafe. She went on to say they couldn't clean up this mess because it was an active crime scene. These girls hope that student gets more than just suspension.
If it was just the writing on the refrigerator, then it not that it wasn't like serious, but like, oh, okay. But since they like vandalized our uniforms, it kind of felt personal.
We reached out to the Bartow County NAACP, and they're not ready to comment on this just yet. But the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP, Gerald Griggs, says he's demanding accountability and action. He believes there's some deeper issues behind why this crime was committed, and he will not stop until he gets those answers, and neither will we. We're out in Bartow County. Taisha Fernandez, Channel 2 Action News.
Now, one of the things I have to say about this is because did y'all peep that when they said the arrest, they also threw in, oh yeah, the minor. Did y'all peep that? Because they don't do that when they arrest black minors. They don't specify, oh, this is a minor. Oh, this is somebody who was underage. Every single time, I just want you guys to remember, every single time when the person who commits a hate crime against a black person is underage, they make sure that they specify, oh, this is a minor. This is somebody underage. They say, oh, yeah, the minor, the juvenile. This is someone who is underage. They don't do that when it was a black person. When a black person commit a crime, that black person is damn near an adult. It don't matter if you 11. You 18 today. But when it comes to somebody, because they don't even got to be of the dominant society. They could be Hispanic, Asian, Arab, whatever. If you gonna be 18 next week, they be all like, well, the minor, that we have to understand the person is underage or whatever. They deliberately go above and beyond to specify that. All right. Another situation. Look at this. I want to make this big screen so you guys can really see the damage that's done.
And your neighbors come destroy your house and steal your stuff because you're black. Yep. Yeah. They took half of my clothes, all my jackets.
Now you see what's written on the walls: white power, F black people, all that stuff.
My shoes, they left me one pair. Them took hella clothes. They took my PS5. They tried to take my TV that's in the living room, but they took everything out of my drawers. They took all my good purses. All my designer purses are gone. Excuse me, Ariel. Everything on my cabinet. Nigger white power. F you.
Now, in context, when they talk about minorities, people of color, all of this stuff, do you hear this in situations like this happening to any other group of people? Or does this only happen to black people? While they talk about things like reverse racism, has there ever been a situation ever in American history? I want to know. I'm genuinely curious, where a white family or even just a white individual, he moves into a black neighborhood and he gets his stuff vandalized because of his race or her race. Has there ever been a situation where a Hispanic person moved into a black neighborhood, or anybody on the planet Earth moved into a black neighborhood and they get their house broken into or their apartment broken into, and black people are spraying racial epithets on the walls and vandalizing and stealing from them solely because that person isn't black? I'm genuinely curious. Have we ever seen anything like this? Let me continue, because she's still, I mean, she's walking around. I want you guys to understand this is a young, I don't know how old she is, but you can tell by her voice and some of her clothes and stuff like that. She's a young woman. And she's walking around every single room. They destroyed her entire house. Who knows how much money of merchandise and items that they stole, but they stole her. They destroyed her entire house. She's in every single room. They didn't miss one room. And let me ask you another question. I want you guys to think about this. How old do you think the people were who did this? I can guarantee you these were young folk. I can guarantee you that. These were people within her age group, if not younger. These were not old 60-year-olds. These were not old 70, 80-year-olds who are just stuck in their way and just can't get with the times and hate black people. These are not people who are before the civil rights movement and everything like that, and they just grew up and they can't get past how they grew up. These are not those people. These are young people who did this to her.
They was trying to steal my TV. They got dirt stains on my couch. Look what else they do. Excuse me. I don't know what that is. They took my stuff out of the refrigerator and look at the watermelon though. At least you know it's real. It's been moldy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Kennedy, get the other bag.
They took my stuff out of here. Huh?
And
you know why they did it? Because I'm black. Because I'm black. In a neighborhood full of Armenians and white people, y'all. I'm the only black person in this neighborhood. They really did this to me. That's why I was dreading coming back home. I've been found out about this also. Like, I've been knowing for like a week now. But y'all, I can't believe they did this to me.
Right? That stuff, there's no, name a sundown town for anybody who is not black. Name that for people who is not black. And I'm not talking about you being called weird names. I'm not talking about somebody making fun of your accent. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people literally breaking into your house to vandalize it because they hate black people. That don't just happen to even poor black people. That's happened a couple years ago. That happened to LeBron, where somebody like broke into his house or cracked his window and then wrote the N-word on his driveway. That happens, rich or poor. It don't matter. Rich, poor, man, woman, old, young. They will do that to any and everybody. They will do it to everybody. Now, going back, y'all, this is why we needed something that was very important for us. Is we needed a specific hate crime bill for us in our community particularly, all right? But no, what happened? You had the anti-Asian hate crime bill. Now, all of the statistics, all of the data, all of the stuff, there's not no Asians that can show you where people are vandalizing, breaking into their house, stealing their stuff, and painting a bunch of, or spray painting or whatever, doing a bunch of anti-Asian sentiments and stuff like that there. No. But boy, oh boy, did that Asian hate crime wave, did that pick up. I'm talking about, it was a big thing. When they said that, hey, we out here and we getting harmed and everything like that, people took that very, very serious. And you know, the worst part about it is the fact that it was actually getting blamed on black folk. I want you to understand, this was actually getting blamed on black folk. Now, remember when I told you to remember ABC? This is the reason why I told you to remember.
As they targeting to, I think as they target.
This comes from ABC. Do you guys remember when they blamed the black community for the Asian hate crime wave that went on?
I think as they targeting to the Asian American community.
We need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians, and they need to speak out in their own community.
It is not just a black and Asian issue. It is something in the psyche of this country where somehow it's okay to abuse, physically or verbally abuse.
Physically or verbally. So they didn't even just stop at physically. So for us, in order for anything at all to be a hate crime, the goalpost, I want you guys to understand, the goalpost for us is so high you could almost never touch it. That's how high the goalpost is. You could almost never touch that goalpost, because they can do something and then be all like, well, okay, well, you can't tell the intent. I mean, yeah, you broke 7 babies' bones and they were all black, but I mean, did you do it because they were black? I mean, we really don't know. We will really never know. They raised the bar so high. For them, they said physically or verbally. You can't even verbally say anything against the Asian American community. Now with us, we get Karens. We got a new video of a Karen every other week, calling us the N-word, calling us monkeys, calling us all types of crazy stuff. We get videos all the time, all types of crazy stuff. And there's nobody in the world who say it's not okay to verbally assault black people. Oh no, you gotta physically end the black person's life in order for them to be all like, well, maybe, I don't know. You gotta end the black person's life. You gotta have a swastika tattooed on your neck and your forehead with a Confederate flag t-shirt on, yelling white power in order for them to do it. For them to be like, well, maybe it is a hate crime. I'm talking the bar is all the way in space. How high you got to reach for a black person to get a hate crime. For them, if you say anything, he said verbally or physically. The other person said, well, you know, it's the black people doing it. So they said, I just want you to take that back, because we should never forget the fact that with the Stop Asian Hate thing, they blame black people for that. Never.
I think as they targeting to the Asian American community.
We need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians, and they need to speak out in their own community.
It is not just.
We need to speak out in our own community to protect them. That's never been done on our behalf. That's never been done on our behalf. Where leaders in the Asian community or figures in the Asian community speak out on our behalf. No. They do anything they can to sabotage. They thought that ending affirmative action was going to help them by spiting us, and that happened. And that had the reverse effect. Ain't none of them was calling that out. But boy, did they get that protection though. They got that protective status, because after that, it set the precedent. And I want you to understand, all of the mainstream media got behind that. All of them got behind that. It was a big play. All of the politicians got behind that. And now you have a situation where now Biden, he signs a bill to counter strike an anti-Asian hate crime. So when people talking about, no, it's not a hate crime specifically for Asians, even though in the bill, it was saying it was specifically for Asians, and it was saying it was to address Asians, and that's the only group of people it's ever benefited. You know, it's not for them. Even though it's the only group of people it's ever benefited, it's really not for them. All right. So much so that when we called it out, it started to become a precedent that was set to even black celebrities were calling that out. Now, remember when Tyrese called it out? Remember that. Look at this.
Signed, President Biden and Kamala Harris signed an Asian hate crime bill, which makes it beyond illegal to ever purposely and maliciously do anything to anybody in the Asian community. And there was a spike in crimes and criminal behavior in and around COVID, allegedly and specifically motivated by Trump. And so everybody started treating Asians, beating them, killing them, shooting them, stabbing them, hurting them. And then he gets into the White House.
And okay, Tyrese is being a little dramatic because all that, there was one mass shooting, I will admit that, but it's probably better I don't even say that on YouTube. Never mind.
Skips over every black and brown Mexican and Latino that have been.
See that? I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Now you're talking about black and brown, even though a lot of the hate crimes that we face are because of these brown people. Now you talking about skips in front of a black and brown. Now, if that was Jennifer Lopez up there advocating for a hate crime, if that was George Lopez up there advocating for a hate crime, they wouldn't be talking about no black. None of them talk about no black. When they can talk about their community, it stays on their community, and they never swiver. They never include nobody. But then when we talk about it, black and brown, I know he lost points from me for that.
Getting killed like flies, and he makes it a law. Asian hate crime bill is signed into law. So whether you're a police officer or a regular civilian, if you wake up on a Wednesday and say, he's Asian, a woman or a man, let's go do something bad to them, which God forbid would ever happen again. But it is a crime bill that was signed into law that protects Asians at all costs. Where is that same fucking law to be signed into law when it comes to black and brown people? Because
there he goes again with that. There he goes again with that.
you're doing is, President Biden and Kamala Harris, what you're doing is you're saying that black and brown people will continue to be disposable. That's why
this is his third black and brown.
That's why we got to vote, and we got to make sure our voices are heard, Tyrese. And it matters when we speak up and speak truth to power. When we speak what's on our heart, we will be heard. But
that's why we got to vote. And he was going to talk about voting for the same people who Tyrese just said ignored us. We got to vote to keep the same people who ignored us in office, is what he's saying. But y'all remember, Tyrese got a lot of pushback for that. Y'all remember what Roland Martin had to say about it?
Quick, okay? Like real quick. Tyrese, you do not know what you're talking about. That video where you're talking about an anti-Asian crime bill, that is a lie. Please, learn to fact check before you start talking. I have debunked this nonsense numerous times on Roland Martin Unfiltered. That is a lie. I literally have walked through the bill on my show. In the summary, it talks about the attacks on Asian Americans. It is called the COVID-19. It specifically mentions.
You know he's gonna start lying when his tongue start twisting. That's how you know he's because he's like forked tongue. His tongue start twisting and tying into a knot. That's why he be stuttering like that. His brain just start tweaking.
Literally have walked through the bill on my show. In the summary, it talks about the attacks on Asian Americans. It is called the COVID-19. It specifically mentions COVID-19. If you actually read the bill.
So y'all know, I want you guys to keep this in mind. Put this in perspective. I don't care what the bill is called. The name of the bill doesn't matter. They only defense when we say this is an anti-Asian hate crime. Oh, no, it's not an anti-Asian hate crime. It's called the COVID bill. You see? What does it matter what the bill is named? Who was the bill made for? Why was the bill made? Who was it made for? And who does the bill benefit? Those are the only two questions that ever matter. Who is it made for and who does it benefit? What does it do? That's the only thing. You can call a bill anything you want to call a bill. It don't matter if you called it the anti-Asian. You could call it the Kung Flu virus bill. You can call it the cough virus bill. You can call it whatever you want to. You can call it the yellow bill if you wanted to. Who does it benefit? And the only group of people we've ever seen benefit from this crime bill has been Asians. So you can talk about, well, hold on, it's technically the name on the top at the very, very top. It's not called Asians, called no. All right. But this is his pathetic excuse to spin it off. Oh, it's not called that technically, playing games with semantics.
Which I've done on the air multiple times. It does not only apply to Asian Americans. It applies to everybody. It also, all it did was also create one job that compiled data. And so again, Tyrese, you're wrong. You are 100% wrong. And so please, all of you entertainers, when y'all jump out here and make videos and people run with it, I need you to do some verification, do some fact checking before you do that. Okay? So you're wrong. It is not. People called it the Asian hate crime bill because of the attacks. And if you're also going to run your mouths out here and go, there's never been a bill for African Americans, that's a lie. There have been 3 hate crimes bills specific to African Americans. The first one, you were dealing with the Civil Rights Act in 64. Okay? Then you also had the hate crimes bill that dealt with black churches were being burned. I also broke that down on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And then, of course, you had the lynching bill that was also signed. Okay? And don't forget, you also have the Matthew Shepard, James Byrd Act that dealt with hate crimes. Yeah, James Byrd, the black man who was dragged to death in Jasper, Texas. I went there. I broadcast from there. I walked down the street when he was murdered.
I want you guys to keep this in mind. I don't care, and neither should you, what a bill is called. We literally have bills to this day named after Emmett Till. We got bills named after George Floyd, and they don't benefit us at all. And they wouldn't apply or even benefit the people that they were named after. All we got is symbolic bills named after people who were black. That's what we get. They don't have bills named after Jet Li or Jackie Chan, but they don't have to. Because anything that they get, it benefits them. It don't matter who it's named after. They don't got a bill named after China. They don't got a bill named after Japan. They don't got to have a bill named after that. They just need a bill that benefits them. We get bills that are by name about us. But then when you look anything beyond the title, it includes everybody and it benefits everybody but us. Because how are these things going on if we got 3? He said 3. We got 3 hate crime bills and we still got these things continuing to go on and they're not even being considered a hate crime. And yet all you needed was one anti-Asian hate crime bill. And if you say anything to an Asian person, that's a hate crime. So you mean they're one? Let's just do the math here. So you mean their one anti-Asian hate crime bill is more powerful than our 3 anti-black hate crime bills? Oh, we need to go to the drawing board then. Because what's in their bill that gives them so much more protection than what is in our 3 bills? We really need to go through the fine prints and find out how that was applied. Because it's seeming like we need all of these bills, and we got all these bills of the James Byrd, the George Floyd, the Emmett Till, the church, the civil rights, the this. We got a stack of bills that ain't worth the one single slice of paper that you guys have. So what's going on here? What is in y'all bill that makes it more powerful than this stack of paper we have here? while he's trying to sit up here and say that we do actually have these protections. I want you to understand too, their protections, even though the bill was already signed for their protection, do you guys know that Kamala was still promising that? Just to let you know exactly how Asian she was still promising that she was going to go out of her way to protect Asians in the Asian community. Look at this.
Flu, China plague, or the China virus.
When Trump called COVID the Kung flu, he unleashed a wave of hate against our community. I was scared. People didn't feel safe.
The former president incites hate. We are working to combat hate. Someone who promotes xenophobia should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Oh, y'all didn't see that? Yeah, because that didn't really blow up. Y'all didn't see that? Did y'all not know that she had a whole ad for furthering the protection of the Asian community after there was already a hate crime bill established for them? She had a whole ad to say she would put forth further protections for them. Was this ad made for black people? No. Short answer, no. Don't bother going around looking, because I already did that for you. That was not made for black people. It wasn't no ad specifically for one group of people. I'm not talking about just she talked any and every
Kung
Asian
flu,
person.
China plague, or the China virus.
Oh, but this was a black woman. Let them tell it.
When Trump called COVID the Kung flu, he unleashed a wave of hate against our community. I was scared. People didn't feel safe.
The former president incites hate. We are working to combat hate. Someone who promotes xenophobia should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
Oh. Now that's interesting. That, you know what's interesting about that? Is because when, not just with reparations, but when we are asked about anything, for anything, we get told there is absolutely nothing that can be done specifically for black people. Remember this?
The reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Oh, but you can sit here and say you're going to do something that's only going to benefit Asians, because I don't see a single black person in this ad. There wasn't a single black person in this ad, not even a single non-Asian person in that ad. That ad was full of Asians from start to finish, and that's the only people that was addressed. No people of color, no marginalized community, no minority, no nothing. But when it comes to black people, you can tell us no. Boldly tell us no. Man, hell no.
Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No. Listen.
And you wonder why she lost. That's why. This is why she lost. Because they out here going above and beyond to protect other people who do not need the protection that they're getting. Not to say, for the sake of YouTube, not to say that we condone any hate crimes, justify any hate crimes, or try to belittle any hate crimes, but the numbers are the numbers. The numbers say we are the ones who are, we face the most hate. That is what the numbers say. It's not a question. It's not a debate. This is what the numbers say. We are the ones who need it the most. We are the ones who are ignored the most. She's already done something for them, and then she's promising more for them as she's telling us, hey, I can't do nothing specifically for y'all. No. Okay. They didn't even ask for another hate crime bill. But family, I want to ask you guys a question. When you see situations like this recently, this nurse, this evil, sadistic nurse, going around breaking bones of several black babies. And we talk about all of these hate crimes. We talk about the fact that the Asian American community gets to get bills specifically signed for them. What do we do besides just talk about it? Besides giving acknowledgement to it, what we do is different than what we've done in the past. I'm going to say this. With the situation of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, like I said before, when situations like that occur and it goes unpunished and they're able to get away with it, then let you know, oh, okay, it's open season on black people. So then that happens, and it happens, and it happens, and it happens, and it happens until it stops. Now remember George Floyd. But remember, George Floyd was not just one incident. It was really the pressure building up of a lot of stuff. Remember, in the same year, 2020, we found the video of Ahmaud Arbery. Then, like a month later, we found the situation of, we found out about the situation of Breonna Taylor. And then, a month or two later, we saw the video of George Floyd. So these situations built up, and we let it be known when we went out there and we started our uprisings for black justice in the streets, and we were letting it be known, we were unapologetic about what we were doing, that you didn't see hate crimes for a good time after that. Even the ones you did, it didn't stop, but even the ones you did, it was very low key. Because it put everybody on blast, like, hey, black people ain't playing right now. See, with the whole hands up, don't shoot, or I'm going to take a knee, and I'm going to be quiet, and I can't breathe, and all that stuff, and please don't hurt me, I'm a person too, and everything like that. Oh, they don't get that. And then that's a time, it sets a precedent of, hey, nothing going to get done. Nothing going to get done, and it progresses, and it progresses, and it get worse and worse and worse. With the George Floyd situation, they waited to see the result of that, and the result was, okay, all right, so now they got Molotov cocktails. Okay, so let's tone down a little bit. This is why they toned down. Not because of anything in the government, not because of anything the police were doing, not because of any legislation that was passed. We were the legislation. We said, you know what, y'all got a piece of paper, we don't need a piece of paper. Y'all don't want to write no legislation or pass no legislation, we will be the legislation then. Okay, I will be the law today. That's what we said. And as you saw after the George Floyd thing, it was all that black hate crime stuff. Oh, that, because black people was on 10 for a good minute after that. And then that stuff started to die down and be like, okay, all right then. They're going to have to stop. So this is the energy that we're going forward. Now, certain states have momentum in certain areas in the movement. This is what we need to do. All of what we're saying, this goes back to what we need to do. Certain areas, certain states have certain momentum in certain areas and problems that we are addressing. Earlier today, I was tagged in something involving reparations in California. It is very important that we get behind that. Let me tell you guys why. We're all a team here. We all have our own individual states. We all have our own individual business and situation. But all of us together, we are all a team. And we all need to put points up on the board. It does not matter if you got the ball or if they got the ball. Let's use this analogy in basketball. Whoever has the ball, if you guys watch basketball, you guys see that if LeBron has the basketball, you see all of the other players try to guard LeBron and create an open space for LeBron to get room so he can get to the bucket, all right? Or so he can make a shot, or so he can pass. They all try to create this space so the person with the ball gets the best shot. In football, whoever has the ball, that's who you see all of the people running alongside. So they can back up the player with the ball. You always back up the player with the ball. In California, as far as our reparations are concerned, California has the ball right now. There's a lot of other places that are considering doing reparations task force. New York just started one. Chicago's dragging their damn feet with one. They're always, a lot of places are playing with it. But right now, there is no state that has more momentum as far as reparations is concerned than California. So California has the ball as far as reparations go. So as far as reparations, it is more strategic for us to get behind our brothers and sisters in California and to promote them. This is why when the California thing, that when it was popping off, everybody was talking about it. We made that trend because that's not just a win for California. It's a win for the whole team. It doesn't matter which player makes the shot, which player makes the touchdown. The touchdown goes to the team, not the player. We got to think about the game. Every other group of people are playing the game, okay? Dr. Claude Anderson even said, race is a sport. It is a sport, and everybody else plays as a team. We got to play as a team, whether you're in California, whether you're in Illinois, whether you in New York. Speaking of Illinois, we have the ball as far as the immigration problem is concerned. Most of the videos you've seen going viral as far as the immigration and everything comes from Illinois, Chicago specifically. This is why. Now, is it the fact that Chicago is the only place at all that has immigration problems? No, it's not. But Chicago is the one who has the most momentum as far as the deportation. So it was very important that everybody in the community got behind Chicago and put support behind Chicago in order for us to boost those videos and boost all that stuff. When I make a video about Chicago, a lot of people, y'all know about Brandon Johnson, y'all know about some of the aldermen, y'all know about the city hall stuff, and a lot of y'all don't even live in Chicago or Illinois or even have been to Chicago yet. And yet y'all backing those videos up. This is what we need to do. Like Dr. Anderson said, it's a sport. So we need to view it in this group sport thing. Whatever player, and we're using states as an analogy for players, whatever player has the sport, that's the ball, that's the player we have to back. That's who you got to run with. That's who you got to create an opening for. That's who you got to boost up. So as far as California is concerned, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not really from California, so y'all got that. No, because you on my team. As long as you on my team, that's all I care about. Because a touchdown for you is a touchdown for me. I don't care who get the touchdown, whether that's the quarterback, whether that's the wide receiver. I don't care who get the touchdown. The point goes to the team. So a point for the California reparations is a point for the Illinois reparation. It's a point for the Atlanta reparations. It's a point for the North Carolina and South Carolina and Maryland reparations, the New York reparations, okay? The Texas it's a point for everybody. All right. So you got to run with who has the ball, who has the momentum. Now, right now, as far as hate crimes are concerned, like I said, different states have different balls, depending on the situation is concerned. Right now, Illinois it got way more momentum as far as the immigration, but California got way more momentum as far as the reparations. Right now, okay, New York has the most momentum as far as the hate crime bills are concerned. You already got brothers and sisters going up to politicians, pulling up on politicians and holding them accountable and addressing them, okay? Making sure that they get their stances put out blatantly on California, on New York, to let it be known, to make it clear that has started that has started the momentum. All right, the situation not just recently with the acquittal of Daniel Penny in Jordan Neely after the lynching of Jordan Neely, but then you had the brutal beatdown video, the lynching video of 14 correctional officers against a handcuffed black man, Robert Brooks. It has already set the precedent. It's already primed the pump for New York and New York getting the hate crime bill underway. And I want you guys to understand that just because you might not live in New York, I don't live in New York, but that does not mean it's not a win. It is a win for the team. New York is a part of the team. Every state in America is a part of the team. So whoever got that momentum, whoever got that motion going on, that's who we need to run with. That is absolutely who we need to run with. All right. So we're gonna get that ball rolling. We gotta get that ball rolling. All right. So going forward, now we do have this, because before we used to be all like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Now we're going to elected politicians and we saying, hey, what are you doing about this? Because you have a job to do, and they're never going to do their job unless there's public outcry, which is why there was so much public outcry with the Stop Asian Hate situation. The Stop Asian Hate situation, even though the fact that it was very orchestrated, the Stop Asian Hate situation, it primed the pump for legislation, and all of the protests and everything, all of the celebrities backed it, all of the politicians backed it, all of the mainstream backed it, and that set the precedent, and it primed the pump for legislation to be passed by the federal government. Now we understand that we don't have that privilege. We understand black hate crimes get ignored more than any other hate crimes do. So we understand that we're fighting a battle with less of a strategic advantage that they have. Okay, we're in a more handicapped position than they were. Okay, we understand that. That's fine. Our voice is more powerful than their voice. We have more influential people than they do, and we have a larger number of people than they do. And we have more legal precedent. We have more cases of evidence to give us precedent for a hate crime than they do. So even though they have that advantage, we also have things that go into our advantage. So we got to play by our strengths, okay? We can't play by the strength that they want to give it to us. All right? So let's be very, very clear. They don't want to. But this is the solution. This is the pathway going forward. So what I need you all to do is to hit that like button. Also, I need you guys to leave a comment. Now, when I say leave a comment, one of the things that I've learned, which is why, I used to do a thing not too long ago where I used to put a hashtag, and I'm really like, put this hashtag out. I stopped doing that. The reason why is because I realized that if a lot of people put the same exact hashtag or the same exact comment, what the algorithm will do is they'll just translate all of that as a spam. And then they'll say, well, these are bots spamming. These are artificial viewers, and these are bots spamming this account, which actually will have a reverse effect and get the video, live stream, whatever, thrown off the algorithm. Okay, so that's what it'll do. So every single video, every single thing, it has to be unique to a certain degree. So what I need you all to do is I need you guys to say something very simple. I'm gonna put it in the chat room, all right? And not just here. I need you guys to say this anytime you see, especially in New York. Say hate crime. Say, okay, you can say something. I'm just giving you, you don't have to say this at all, but something very simple. I'm gonna give you an example. I am let me see. I'm gonna just put Afro and I support a man, my typing is slow right now. Black hate crime. You can just say something like this: hate crime bill. All right, like this. That's all you gotta do is say this. Okay. Whatever your name is, I am Afro and I support a black hate crime bill. I am James and I support a black hate crime bill. I am Michael and I support a black hate crime bill. I am who's in the job right now? I am Nisi and I support a black hate crime bill. I am you don't got to put your full name out there or any other information, but just this, because your name will be unique enough, but it will send the overall message. I support a hate crime bill, or I want a hate crime bill. We need a hate crime law bill. You can switch it up just a little bit so the algorithm doesn't pick it up as spam. So we got to think above. We got to think beyond the curve. We got to think smarter, because we already know that with messages like this, they're going to say, okay, that's a spam. These are bots. Oh, okay. All right. We just going to individualize it a little bit so they can understand everything's clear and concise, but it's individualized enough for it not to be considered spam, it not to be considered bots doing it. All right. So this is why we do this, so we can avoid the whole spam thing, getting videos thrown off, all of that stuff. All right, we can avoid that. We doing this especially right now. We got to, anytime we see something about New York in particular, anybody at all, any place at all, don't matter where it's from. Okay, if you see a video, I don't care if it's on Facebook, I don't care if it's on YouTube, I don't care if it's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever, wherever. All right, put a comment there. This is why we need a black hate crime bill. This is why a black hate crime bill is necessary. This is why I support a black hate. Don't matter what you say, as long as you say it, and make sure you put black hate crime bill, black hate crime law, anti-black hate crime, or something like that in there, so the message can be known that this is a community outcry for that, especially when it comes to New York. They have to be backed up, just like how we backed up California, even though we don't live in California. Even if the California reparations, even though if the residents in California got reparations, I wouldn't get it, but I'm still backing them up because they still on my team. The deportation in Chicago, that's not going to affect the deportation in New York, but you had a whole bunch of New York brothers and sisters backing up Chicago. You had a whole bunch of Atlanta brothers and sisters backing up Chicago. You had a whole bunch of South Carolina brothers and sisters, Denver brothers and sisters, Memphis brothers and sisters, all that backing up Chicago, because we're all on the same team. This is what Dr. Clyde Anderson was talking about. All right. So any player that has the ball, back that player up. So right now, as far as hate crimes are concerned, New York has the ball. We got to create an opening for New York. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do anything in your city or in your state. That doesn't mean that. But if this is who has the most momentum, this is who we need to run with. If this is the best play, that's the play we need to run with. So I didn't just want to give you this and be all like, oh my God, we're just doomed and everything's bad and we're all going to be victims of hate. No. There are things we can do about it, all right? Just like there were things that the Asians did about it. Now, the Asians were not facing nearly as much hate, and they had the support of the dominant society. Fine. They have their advantages. We have ours. They were playing to their strengths. We have to play to our strengths. So we understand what our strengths are. And our strengths are backing up the players, right? And one of the things in with the Asian community that's different from us is they're a very, very small group of people. So they don't have a lot of players in different places. They got some in New York. They got some in Cali. They don't really have some anywhere else. They got some in Chicago a little bit, but they don't really have a large population anywhere else. Unlike us, this is our strength. We got black folk in Cali, we got black folk in Chicago, we got black people in DC, we got black people in New York, we got black people in Atlanta, we got black people in Texas, we got black people in the Carolinas, we got black people in Ohio, we got black people all over the place. So wherever the ball goes, we can back that player up because we already got people on station. You know what I'm saying? So this is how, like Dr. Clyde Anderson was saying, this is how the game is played. So we got to play to our strengths. All right. So this is what we do. Shout out to, let me see. Shout out to Bossa Nova. Thank you so very much, Bossa Nova, for the Cash App. Thank you very much, tremendously. It is a tremendous appreciation, and it humbles me so much so. All right. Thank you so very much. Now, y'all, I did not plan on being here this long. This all has been like an hour, 40 minutes. I done with all my tea. My tea is all the way gone. So I need to get a little bit of rest. I'm still kind of a little under the weather, as you guys can probably tell a little bit. But it's okay. I'm just rest up. I've been, one of the things, when I get under the weather, I sleep like a log. I be sleeping. That's what heals me up real good. Get some good old tea, garlic, all that stuff, and just sleep. So, I got to get some rest. So I appreciate you guys locking in. Like I said, this is not a very trendy topic. It's not a topic that makes you feel good. And it's not a topic that makes you laugh. As you can see, I didn't laugh the whole time. I didn't crack a joke the whole time. Okay. Unless you want to call that Roland Martin thing a joke. But I didn't crack no joke. That just ain't funny. We standing on business. We're not playing games. So we know what the play is. And all of our players in every station needs to run that play. Shout out to the brothers and sisters in New York. Salute to you all for doing your work. I appreciate you all. Y'all make sure that you guys follow me on my various social media platforms. That way you guys don't miss out, because I put a notification out every single time before I go live. Every single time before I go live. So y'all make sure y'all do that. All right? Make sure you all do that. Okay? And the link is in the description below. Also, very important, hit that like button. Hit that like button to let the algorithm know that you support an anti-black hate crime bill. The same way the Asians got one. That's what we need. That's what we demand. Hit that subscribe button as well, too. Make sure you are subscribed. Even if you are, double check. Hit that notification bell. Leave a comment, all right? Let me show you the template for the comments. This is a template. I am Afro. Of course, you're not Afro. I am blank, and I support a black hate crime bill. You can say black hate crime bill, anti-black hate crime bill, black hate crime law, whatever. Mix it up however you want to. But this is the general template that we are going to use on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, on any and all social media. This is the template that we use because the ball is already rolling. So we got to keep on backing that play up so we can make that touchdown. All right. So that's the play. Now, with that being said, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you guys being here. It is such a very important subject. Such a very, very important subject. All right. Very important. This is so important. It's more than about just us. This is beyond my life, beyond your life. This is the life of our children, our grandchildren. Because if it's bad now, where hate crimes have gone up 43% and we're 49% of the victims, what do you think is going to be in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Fear not, though, because we won't allow that to happen. Before we didn't know what play to run. Now we understand what play to run, and it's up to all of us to lock in and execute. We got to lock in and execute. brothers and sisters, I appreciate you all being here with me. All right. I mean, we've been through a whole lot, through hell and high water, through wellness and sickness. You guys are with me, and I appreciate and love you all so very much for it. Now, I got to get off here. I got to get some rest. We all have a job to do. We all know what play we're going to run. We all know the template of the comment section. Leave a comment to let the algorithm know so the ball can get rolling faster and faster that we demand a hate crime bill. All right? Let that be known. Now, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, be one to every single last one of you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for watching, and stay blessed. Stay blessed, family.